Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're firing some lasers with Orphie and Captain Magus. This video will cover Orphie's main mechanics, how to build her, and some teams she can go into. We'll cover any extra tips at the end of the video. This video is made in collaboration with Hoyoverse. Footage used is from the creator beta server, so sorry about no sound effects, and things are subject to change. Thank you Hoyoverse for letting me participate. As a heads up, Orphie has received some adjustments since version 2.2's release. Most of these are animation changes that make Orphie smoother to play. The footage in this guide will include those new changes. Now, Orphie and Captain Magus are an S-rank fire attacker and the last Obo Squad member. Orphie will be the first attack agent who focuses on being an off-field sub-DPS. Thanks to Captain Magus' military-grade high-energy lasers, Orphie also specializes in supporting Aftershock teams. Similar to Seed, Orphie will serve as a damage dealer and support. She's a bit like a combination of like Bernice and Lucy, but then turned into an attack agent. Now I want to start with Orphie's resource bar, which is called Bottled Heat. Orphie can hold 125 bottled heat, and the little mark represents 100 heat. Orphie will start each battle with 100 heat prepped. We'll get to what bottled heat is used for in just a bit. When off field and the active agent hits an enemy, Orphie uses her regular special, Corrosive Flash. Captain Magus fires 4 little laser beams, which actually deal decent damage. Corrosive Flash can occur every 5 seconds, and that cooldown starts when Orphie begins the attack. Orphie will be invulnerable for all of her off-field moves. Now, Corrosive Flash is an Aftershock attack, and it counts as 2 Aftershock instances. That can give Orphie 2 stacks from something like Shadow Harmony's 4-piece set. Last bit of info, this move grants 20 bottled heat. When Orphie has at least 60 energy, her next off-field regular special is upgraded to an off-field EX special. Crimson Vortex is a stronger Aftershock attack that will trigger the Fire Text pop-up. Orphie does a sweet 360 sweeping laser attack and will consume 30 energy. She will also gain 20 bottled heat. When off-field, Orphie's energy bar will have a mark halfway to signal that 60 energy threshold while she do Crimson Vortex. When you bring Orphie onto the field, the mark on the energy bar lowers to 30 energy. Press the special button and Orphie will cast her on-field EX special, Watch Your Step. Watch Your Step is an Aftershock attack, grants 20 bottled heat, and gives Orphie iframes till she falls on the ground. However, this on-field EX special is actually a bit weaker. Watch Your Step deals slightly more than half the damage of the off-field regular special, Corrosive Flash, and it deals about 40% of the damage of the off-field EX special, Crimson Vortex. When I say Orphie is the first attacker to really focus on off-field DPS, that is not an exaggeration. Orphie's chain attack isn't particularly special, but it deals Aftershock damage and it grants 20 bottled heat, so I definitely like using it. As for Orphie's ultimate, it triggers a quick assist, and swapping agents will extend the ultimate for extra damage. Orphie gains 20 bottled heat via this move, and surprise surprise, it's another Aftershock attack. As Orphie does her Aftershocks, Magus is storing up that bottled heat. When you reach 100 heat, the resource bar turns yellow. Bring Orphie onto the field and hold the special button to do Heat Charge. Consume 100 heat, and Captain Magus will unleash a high-powered laser that ramps up in strength. After reaching max firepower, Magus will automatically do Fire Eruption. Both moves are considered EX Special Aftershock attacks. To further lean into the off-field damage-dealing role, Orphie triggers a quick assist while casting Heat Charge. This won't last the entire time, so try to swap out as soon as possible. To add some flair, Orphie can parry incoming attacks when you start casting Heat Charge. As a reward, Magus will unleash her max firepower laser immediately. This is good because the max firepower laser has super high stagger capabilities. Heat Charge always does the same damage, the parry just causes Magus to stagger enemies quicker. This is great for attackers like Soldier 11 who don't have the safest combos. Soldier 11 can quick assist in and then do her full fire suppression basic attack combo undisturbed. As a note, Orphie will parry attacks at any time while doing Heat Charge. You don't have to score a parry immediately. Orphie essentially has full iframes during this move. Orphie's core passive is a bit long, but we already mentioned Bottled Heat and using the off-field EX special when she has 60 energy. In addition, Orphie gets a set 25% crit rate and her Aftershock damage increases by plus 85%. For some reason, the core passive is where it lists which moves are Aftershock damage attacks. It's literally every move we talked about already. Just to be thorough, Orphie's Aftershocks are all the Magus laser beam related attacks. Off-field regular special, Corrosive Flash. Off-field EX special, Crimson Vortex. On-field EX special, Watch Your Step. EX special, Heat Charge plus Fire Eruption. You then have the chain attack and ultimate. The only move I haven't covered is the Fireblade attack of Orphie's basic attack string. We'll get to that very soon. The core passive has one more part. When Heat Charge hits an enemy, all squad members gain the Zeroed In buff for 12 seconds. Zeroed In grants a 280 attack buff. If Orphie has more than 1.6 initial energy regen, every 0.1 points above that will grant 20 more attack. Orphie can hit a max zeroed in buff of 700 attack if she gets 3.7 energy regen. The starting 12 second buff timer can be extended by 4 seconds if any agent lands an Aftershock attack. You can get a max extension of 20 seconds, which requires 5 Aftershocks. That would get us about a total of 32 seconds of buff time. Unlike Lucy's M6, this is not going to extend the timer for all allies. Zeroed In's timer is tracked individually for each agent. Before we stop, I want to cover Orphie's addition ability. Orphie needs a support or stun ally. If met, any Aftershock damage done by agents with zeroed in will ignore 25% of the foe's defense. To summarize what we learned so far, Orphie and Magus specialize in dealing damage from off-field. Any hit from an ally can trigger a follow-up by Orphie every 5 seconds, and with 60 energy, Orphie will fire her off-field EX special instead of the regular special. Almost all of Orphie's damage is considered Aftershock damage, and her core passive grants a huge 85% damage increase for Aftershocks. Those Aftershocks also generate Bottled Heat. With enough heat, you can swap Orphie onto the field, then use Heat Charge. This procs zeroed in for a team attack buff. Orphie's sub DPS plus support role can work with any other main damage dealer. You can do double attack like Seed, or technically pair up with an Anomaly or Rupture agent. If you want to use a DPS stunner or defense agent, then sure, you can if you want. However, Orphie and Magus' ideal team is with an Aftershock main DPS. Only Aftershock damage extends the zeroed in attack buff timer, and gets the defense shred from Orphie's additional ability. For the most part, Orphie won't be on-field a ton, but I do want to cover a few of the on-field moves she has. Orphie's basic attack string is a 5-part combo with a few physical damage attacks and then fire damage strikes. When Orphie gets to her 5th basic, the second half of the attack will have Magus send out a Fire Blade attack. This Fire Blade projectile wave is considered Aftershock damage. After Orphie's on-field EX special, Watch Your Step, you can press basic attack and Orphie will chain into this Fire Blade attack. Typically, you won't be using Watch Your Step a ton, but in some scenarios, if you do use it, you can get a little extra damage with this follow-up. If you're going to swap Orphie in, you're most likely doing it to activate Heat Charge. All of Orphie's Aftershock moves grant 20 Bottled Heat, and she needs 100 Heat to use Heat Charge. Since Orphie can proc her off-field attacks every 5 seconds, that means you can charge up within 25 seconds. It's pretty easy to gauge how much heat Orphie has at the moment. If you just pass the halfway point of that 100 heat section, then you know Orphie has 60 heat. If you're almost to the 100 heat threshold, you know she's at 80 heat. With 80 heat, you can swap Orphie in early to do Watch Your Step. This sacrifices some damage, but you will get to 100 heat faster. Now if you hold the special button during Watch Your Step with 80 heat, Orphie will skip the longer animation of Watch Your Step and shortcut directly into the Heat Charge laser beam. This is also a good time to mention that Zeroed In doesn't start its 12-second timer until Orphie's done with Heat Charge. This makes the buff last a little longer if you quick assist out immediately. For some additional Heat Charge tips when it comes to stun phases, you typically want Orphie to refresh Zeroed In before your chain attacks start. Since Orphie continues to fire after, you may want to let her go last in the chain attack sequence. This has another benefit in that while your first or second chain attack is happening, Orphie can proc an off-field attack after finishing Heat Charge / Fire Eruption. If you don't think Orphie landed all her damage, you can even use your Bang Boo chain attack to buy more time. After Orphie uses her chain attack, you can go into her ultimate. With the quick assist, this is an easy way to keep the damage constantly going while you attack with 2 agents. If Orphie was able to do her off-field attack, then that's going to be on cooldown anyway, so it's a good use of the extended ultimate firing. Now let's say things happen and you didn't refresh Zeroed In. Orphie's chain attack grants 20 Bottled Heat, meaning if you start the chain sequence with 80 heat, you can hold special as the chain attack finishes, and Orphie will go directly into Heat Charge. Be careful though, if Orphie does her chain attack and ends with 80 heat, you need to press and hold special after the chain attack animation. This would do Watch Your Step into the Heat Charge shortcut. You can only hold special during the chain attack if the chain attack itself gets Orphie to 100 heat. If you need more Bottled Heat after, you need to press special after the animations, otherwise Orphie's just gonna stand there awkwardly. Speaking of awkward, try not to cancel Orphie's attacks unintentionally. If Orphie's attacking in the background and you swap to her normally, then you'll assume control of Orphie mid-animation. However, if you quick assist or perfect assist into Orphie, that will cancel her current attack. This applies to chain attacks as well, which is why I mentioned using your Bang Boo chain attack earlier. Just try to be aware if you know Orphie's Aftershock is coming off a cooldown soon. Even if the fire text pops up for Crimson Vortex, if you quick assist to Orphie at that moment, you will cancel the entire move. Swapping to Orphie mid-animation can have a use case. Despite having no Aftershocks in her kit, Seed will be a great partner with Orphie. The general idea of Seed feeding her Vanguard energy is perfect for Orphie since she can fire her EX special from off-field. Seed and Orphie can also buff each other. 1700 attack sounds pretty good. Unfortunately, Seed's buffs only work for the active agent. Orphie is never the active agent when off-field, so she isn't getting buffed. Additionally, Seed only gets Steel Charge if her Vanguard uses energy as the active agent. Technically speaking, Seed and Orphie's buffing kits don't mesh that well together, and yet they're still a strong duo, or I guess 4-man team. Orphie can still give her attack buff to Seed, and Seed still feeds Orphie free energy. Seed gets all the field time, meaning more Steel Charge buildup anyway. If you use this duo, you will need to change Orphie's game plan slightly. Orphie has to use her on-field EX special Watch Your Step to refresh Seed's buffs and give Steel Charge. It's not a big deal with all the extra energy. If you have the chance, you can also swap to Orphie as soon as she triggers Aftershocks. Seed's buffs will go into effect mid-attack, and you can see Orphie's damage will increase. Since Seed Jr. is a ranged attacker, it is easier to find these openings. Definitely harder to take advantage of it mid-battle though, but it is an optimization to add some skill ceiling to this team. Unlike Seed, zzzero Anby is basically the perfect complement to Orphie's entire kit. We have multiple agents with off-field Aftershock moves, but only one other Aftershock damage dealer. That is Anby. Anby might as well join Oba Squad properly because when on-field, Anby increases the damage of Aftershocks and adds part of her crit damage to all other Aftershock attacks. Orphie's Defense Shred affects all Aftershock damage, and Anby can get the longer 20-second buff timer. Anby loves more field time, which Orphie is fine without, so these two have incredibly synergistic kits. The only knock is that they are different attributes. Now, I have some excellent news for those of you who like Anby. In the 2.2 livestream, there was suspiciously vague teasing about Anby undergoing some special training. It wasn't announced at that time, but I've been told by my Hoyo correspondent that zzzero Anby is confirmed to be getting buffed/reworked. I don't have anything else to share at the moment, but I will cover the changes as they are released. Anby and Orphie are definitely going to be an incredible double DPS Aftershock team. As we move into the build section, a reminder that Orphie's core passive attack buff scales with initial energy regen. To max out the buff, Orphie needs 3.7 ER on her stats page before battle. There are a few ways to do this, but the typical fashion involves leveling Orphie's core passive to max. She actually gains base energy regen via the core passive. You then use a 60% energy regen Partition 6 drive disc plus a 20% ER 2P set. You then have Orphie's signature, which is another 60%. This will get Orphie just above 3.7 ER. You can actually hit this without Orphie's signature, but it will sacrifice a lot of other stats. If you do not use Orphie's signature or any other energy regen W engine, you can get 2.8 ER typically. This is still good for a 520 attack buff. With all this said, Orphie's signature W engine is called Bellicose Blaze. It has a 60% ER main stat and grants 20% crit rate in battle. When you land Aftershock fire damage attacks, you ignore 15% defense for 8 seconds. This can stack once every 3 seconds up to 2 times. With Orphie's addition ability and signature, you get 55% defense shred as long as Orphie can do her Aftershocks within 8 seconds of each other. Her off-field attacks happen every 5 seconds, so this shouldn't be an issue. As for the other stats, Orphie gets 20% crit rate, so up to 45% with her core passive. You then get the important 60% initial energy regen. For other W engines, most of these do not have ER main stats. The zeroed in attack buff is going to be smaller, but Orphie can get the benefits of other passives. Evelyn's Heartstring Nocturne is just a big crit rate and crit damage stat stick. Orphie can also make use of the Fire Red Shred on chain attacks and ultimates. As for zzzero Anby, her signature is just crit damage on crit damage on crit damage. It stacks on regular specials and Aftershocks. Orphie's regular off-field attack is considered both, so she actually gets 2 stacks. For generally easier builds, any other S-rank crit rate W engine can be used. Now for crit rate A-rank options, you can use Mercado Desire, which is an event W engine, or you can use Cannon Rotor, which is from the Battle Pass. Orphie doesn't make the best use of the craftables, but if you're running Astra, then Starlight Engine's Quick Assist trigger can be met when she does switch in. A lot of Orphie's damage is via her off-field special attacks. This is a case where Gilded Blossom and its bonus EX special damage could work. Sadly, this event W engine is even older than Mercado Desire. Now, if you'd want to get closer to maxing out Orphie's attack buff, you could run any energy regen main stat W engine. Kaboom, the Vault, or Anton's Drill Rig. Sadly, despite Drill Rig being the only attack option, its passive is useless for Orphie. These 50% ER main set options will get zeroed in to a 677 attack buff. For Drive Disc, Orphie has a pretty standard setup. Shadow Harmony gives 15% Aftershock damage, and every Aftershock stacks attack and crit rate. Orphie can basically keep the 4-piece max stacks at all times, meaning 12% attack, 12% crit rate. To strengthen her attack buff and have more energy for EX specials, you can pair this with a 2-piece Swing Jazz or Moonlight Lullaby set for 20% energy regen. For main stats, Orphie can hit 30% crit rate with her core passive. Shadow Harmony brings us up to 42%. If you add a crit rate W engine, she gets about 60%. In that kind of case, you can fish for crit rate substats and then go for a crit damage Partition 4 disc. If you don't have that crit rate W engine, then probably stick with crit rate here. For Partition 6, it's pretty much always going to be energy regen. Partition 5 can be between % attack or fire damage. Orphie's core passive gives a massive 85% damage boost to Aftershocks, which is basically all of her main moves. Add Shadow Harmony, and you already hit 100% bonus damage. That said, Orphie does have her own attack buff as well. It will kind of depend on your supports and buffing setups. Pen ratio usually would be nice in this kind of scenario, but Orphie's additional ability and signature grant Defense Shred. If you were to add more Defense Shred from, say, Trigger and her signature, then I probably wouldn't use pen ratio this time. For teams, Orphie and Captain Magus fill a unique spot for attack agents. They can give a lot of time to another on-foot main DPS, and as such, double attack teams work fine. Orphie can provide team attack buffs, but is geared better for Aftershock units. You can always fill that third spot with a stunner, who preferably buffs, or you can just run in actual support. Generally speaking, you can run Orphie with any damage dealer. They don't have to be an attack agent specifically, although doubling up on fire damage would be ideal for Fire Week content. As mentioned earlier, zzzero Anby is getting reworked. Orphie gives Anby all the field time, and you can easily slot in Trigger for that last spot for more off-field Aftershocks plus days build up. You can also use Jafufu or Poker here. Poker's additional ability buffs Aftershock damage, so you don't even need M6 for this team. We also talked about Seed. Seed and Orphie do have some issues buffing each other, but their basic dynamic of main DPS plus sub DPS along with Seed giving energy to Orphie just work so well already. Both of them have Defense Shred in their kits or with their signatures, so Nicole can fill the support role instead of another attack buffer. Her M6 crit rate buff continues to be great as well. Trigger with or without a signature can slot into this team too. For the last Obo Squad member, not to be forgotten, we have zzzero, who also deals fire damage. zzzero wants to lay down her fire suppression basic attacks. Orphie gives her room to do just that. You can use Jafufu for extra fire off-field stunning plus buffing. There is also Kaleda, and then you have Fighter, who I would say probably is still the best fire-specific stunner. The only reason I didn't put Lighter there was because I'm saving him for page 2. The third fire attacker is Evelyn, who can be used with Orphie. I wouldn't say Eve needs Orphie really at all, but this is another double fire attack team comp option. Astra can stack more attack and easily buff both attackers. Instead of Astra, you can also use Lucy. Orphie's many EX specials do trigger Lucy's M6 guard boards, which is fun to see. Personally, I did prefer using Lighter with zzzero and Evelyn teams. 60 to 75% fire damage, some fire res shred, and then the extra stun time is just so good for the 3 fire attackers. Lighter is such a cool dude though that you can also run Orphie with an ice damage dealer. Thanks to Ellen's rework, her additional ability works with any stunner. Lighter buffs fire and ice damage, and then Orphie's quick assist lets Ellen enter via her roaming state directly. It's a pretty fun team to play. Now to continue the Lighter propaganda, you can play him as the main DPS with Orphie adding extra damage. I actually thought this team worked pretty well even without a DPS Lighter build. With Nicole here, I tried to keep her debuff active as much as possible. 65% defense shred for Orphie, and that's without her signature. Since Orphie and Nicole generate so much energy, this team actually gives Lighter a ton of morale. More morale equals more punching, so I was having a pretty good time. Now I wouldn't say Orphie will be as universal as say Astra, but she can be a flexible option if you like unusual teams. Want to run DPS Ben? Sure. Next version we got Monito, who is Fire Rupture. Orphie's attack buff is going to be less effective on him, but it's just more fire damage stacking without taking up field time. That's really all it is. In Season 1, double anomaly teams became and still are extremely strong. With agents like Seed and Orphie, they're giving us more options to try out new double DPS teams. You can pair Orphie with anyone really, but do be on the lookout for more Aftershock damage dealers in the future. Let's briefly go through Orphie and Magus' Mindscapes. For M1, Corrosive Flash, Crimson Vortex, and Heat Charge / Fire Eruption ignore 15% fire res. Agents with zeroed in now get 20% increased damage on top of the attack buffs. M1 is a basic damage increase for Orphie and adds a little more buffing power. For M2, Orphie gains 65 decibels when she uses an Aftershock. This can occur once every 4 seconds. After using ultimate, Orphie gains 20% attack for 45 seconds. M2 isn't very flashy, but more decibels means more ults, and in turn, more attack with this upgrade. For M4, Zeroed In's base duration is now 16 seconds. Heat Charge and ultimate now get 40% bonus damage. M4 extends Zeroed In from 12 seconds to 16 initially. With M1, you also get 60% damage for Heat Charge and ultimate. That's then added to Orphie's 85% from the core passive. Yeesh. Mindscapes 6 is interesting. After the Fireblade attack of Orphie's 5th basic, you can press special to do Crimson Vortex, which is normally the stronger off-field EX special. After any Fireblade attack, Orphie gains 10 Bottled Heat. The low firepower phase of Heat Charge now gets increased interrupt power. When Heat Charge or ultimate hit an enemy, they deal extra ticks of damage equal to 250% attack. This occurs every 0.5 seconds, and it's counted as EX special Aftershock damage. M6 is not really a make Orphie a main on-field DPS type Mindscape, it just adds some new on-field moves to use. A new combo you can do is Watch Your Step into the basic attack to activate Fire Blade, and then you can press special to do Crimson Vortex. That entire combo would get 50 Bottled Heat with these upgrades, so that's pretty nice. Now if you want to invest in Orphie, her Mindscapes are neat, but mainly passive damage increases and support buffs. M6 is the only one that directly adds a new move option. If you were to get Orphie's signature, not only do you get extra crit rate and defense shred, you get the important extra energy regen. That's going to max out Orphie's attack buff, and unless you want to run a W engine without a passive, then it's the only way to do so. For the after party tips section, I want to list some of the adjustments to Orphie since version 2.2's release. The on-foot EX special, Watch Your Step, got a slight damage buff, and you can chain it into the Fireblade attack faster. It also seems like you can chain multiple Watch Your Steps back to back faster as well. This is nice if you're going to be using Orphie with her partnership with Zed. Now the main adjustment is to Heat Charge. The starting animation is a bit new, but it acts the same. The ending Fiery Eruption attack is totally different though, and for the better. Previously, Fiery Eruption used to be like Orphie's ultimate with an extended laser beam attack. Now it's a simple and quick tail smash. This is a direct buff because Orphie will leave the field faster and can start her next off-field Aftershock sooner. For example, if you start Heat Charge right as you get the stun, previously Orphie would still be firing when you got to her turn in the chain attack. Currently, Orphie leaves so much faster that she can fit in an off-field Aftershock before the chain attack sequence gets to her. Now, in a related topic, Orphie's chain attack also uses the shorter finishing animation like Fiery Eruption. If Orphie goes last in the sequence, she can start Heat Charge or ultimate much faster than before. These are relatively small changes, but they definitely make Orphie smoother to play when she does need to come onto the field. Speaking of which, let's cover the other on-field moves that Orphie probably won't be doing that often. Orphie's dash attack is a quick uppercut with some decent lunge range. If you keep basic attacking, the dash attack chains into Orphie's third basic. Interestingly, after Orphie's Fireblade attack, if you keep attacking, this will do the dash attack animation. That goes back into the third basic if you ever were to loop basic attacks. Orphie's regular on-field special isn't that useful, but it chains into her third basic attack. It is a heavy attack option if you need to start a stun. Orphie's dodge, counter, and quick assist use the same animation. They're pretty fast and also chain into the third basic. Similar to the chain attack, if Orphie quick assists in with 100 heat, you can hold special as the quick assist is happening and Orphie will immediately transition to Heat Charge. If you need to do Watch Your Step for extra heat though, then you have to press and hold special after the quick assist animation. The same rules are going to apply to Orphie's defensive assist plus follow-up. Neither of these are particularly standout, and Orphie has the regular defensive assist which costs 2 assist points against big attacks. As the follow-up is happening, you can hold special with 100 heat to chain into Heat Charge. If not, you're going to have to press special after the animation plays out. For iframes, Orphie isn't vulnerable during the first part of her 5th basic attack while she's swinging back in the air. Once she falls to her knees though during the Fireblade attack, she is not safe. Orphie's off-field Aftershocks are totally safe. This actually carries over if you swap to Orphie mid-attack. For example, the longer corrosive flash move has full iframes, and it's kind of funny seeing Orphie just standing there casually shooting lasers. In terms of area effect and grouping capabilities, Orphie's laser attacks pierce enemies. Corrosive Flash isn't that amazing, but Crimson Vortex does have a wider reach and can bring enemies closer. Not insane AoE grouping, but better than nothing for sure. If you're looking for a shiny new main DPS attacker to control most of the time, then Orphie and Magus may not be for you. However, if you like the idea of double DPS comps or having multiple allies on the field all at once, then Orphie fills that sub DPS role. Unlike Zed, who requires double attack teams, Orphie's a little more open to just helping out anyone. Ideally, she would be best in a full fire team, but Orphie also loves Aftershock agents. The only actual Aftershock damage dealer currently is Soldier Zero Anby. Anby and future Aftershock main DPS agents will be Orphie's best pairings. With that said, Orphie can be slotted into a lot of different teams. She just applies constant damage output, and her quick assists make getting in and out pretty snappy. Don't underestimate the stagger from the max firepower heat charge laser. Crowd control is pretty nice against some of these super aggressive bosses. That's all I have to say for this video. Have fun blasting foes with Orphie and Captain Magus. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.